This presentation is about how overseas Filipino workers affect the Philippine economy. Do they really help, or are they actually hurting? So how is this presentation significant? For one thing, students, even multimedia arts students like us, need to become aware of how OFWs actually affect the economy, and maybe even pick up a few tips to help the Philippines out of this economic rut. This will be touched on more later. First off, what are OFWs? Overseas Filipino workers, or OFWs, have been an integral part of Filipino culture since its entry into the modern era. They are Filipinos who have been contracted to work overseas and send a portion of their earnings back to their families in the Philippines. They have been celebrated as modern Filipino heroes, and their efforts have mostly succeeded in alleviating the poverty of working-class Filipinos. Examples of OFWs include domestic helpers, nurses, seamen who crew international cruise ships, and unskilled laborers. By 2012, it was estimated there are a total of 2.2 million OFWs in circulation, with the most popular destination being Saudi Arabia. Together, they send home a conservative estimate of 165.6 billion pesos per year. But how does the economy benefit from OFWs? The remittances received from OFWs by their families serve to satisfy basic needs, such as shelter, food, medicine, and education. The extra inflow of money also allows them to purchase products and services that they would normally not be able to afford, thereby improving their quality of life. In short, OFWs serve to alleviate poverty, especially in the working class. This has resulted in their status as modern Filipino heroes. So what are the negative effects of OFWs on the economy? Though remittances from OFWs introduce much needed buying power for more consumers, they also encourage a stagnant, inefficient, and non-competitive local economy. Normally, in a perfect economic model, if a product's price is too high, consumers will refuse to buy it until the seller lowers the price. This keeps up until the price reaches the highest level, where the product is bought by the most number of consumers without costing more to produce. That's being efficient. The Philippine economy has not been strong enough since the 1980s, leading to smaller earnings for workers. Without remittances, this would have made sellers reduce prices in order to entice these families with diminished income to buy their product. Now, due to the increased flow of money to these working-class families, the pressure to lower prices have weakened, and products with inflated prices remain inflated. Production remains inefficient. Another negative effect concerns the participation of labor in education. Due to the higher wages for OFWs, local jobs must also increase their wages in order to attract the workers needed. This may seem like a good thing at first, but in fact, this means fewer jobs as employers can't afford to pay more people. The disparity in wages abroad and in country also mean that students, who may or may not depend on an OFW relative, may be encouraged to not finish school, or to take a course that is in demand abroad. In an example, compare the average wages a local college-required job would allow. That would be 15,000 pesos to 20,000 pesos, to the money an OFW earns that is sent home, an average of $20,000, which is around 90,000 pesos. What then would be the more preferable alternative? And to think that the reason most OFWs go abroad is to pay for their family's educational needs. Another problem in OFWs is that the graduates that would be worth a lot in helping our economy are being lured to other countries because the earning potential is greater there than in their own. This leads to the phenomenon known as brain drain, where people with good degrees and good grades, like doctors and engineers, migrate to other countries even though the education that they've finished can help or even improve the quality of our economy. Lastly, OFWs distort the perception of economic growth. For example, families may be able to buy more and live more comfortably, but the GDP remains at a level that cannot sustain this kind of living. Essentially, the Philippine economy is much too dependent on the money OFWs are sending home in order to function. If the source of this currency would suddenly dry up, we would be in a world of trouble. In conclusion, OFWs are a short-term only solution to poverty, and an OFW-centric government policy will only hurt the economic growth of the Philippines in the long run. Focusing on the GDP and getting more jobs to the people who need and are capable of using them will help wean the country off dependency on remittances.